Hi, guys. Welcome back to another in the series. This episode, however, is my Monjoro update. What is happening in the GLP, GIP space, and what particularly have been the news releases and press updates in regards to what's taking place within our community. For those of you who are new, I'm Shelly. Thank you for joining, subscribing, liking, sharing with your friends, your family, and your loved ones conversations with Shelly. And for those of you who are not so new, I think we've become pretty good friends. Welcome back. Thank you as always for joining and being present. Now, I want to start off today um, with a little bit of some personal updates. I know I would have shared some updates in regards to week um, 11, which would have been in most of the instances that I would have mentioned week 11, we would have been talking about my journey towards compounding and taking the compounding version of the drug. And I would have gone through quite a lot of what the nuances have been in terms of um, getting access to the compounding versions, how I went about ordering. I have also looked into the whole aspect of unboxing my compounded version of the drug, looked at some little differences and nuances in terms of, you know, risk factors and all of that. And all of that would have been in one of the week updates of my Monjoro slash GIP journey. And today, what I wanted to do, a lot of persons have been asking me um, just to break down in very simple language the difference between a branded version of the drug and a compounded version of the trizepatide, which is what I've been taking. So I have decided to give you all a visual picture of what it is that we mean by the two. And just to help you out, as I said, pictorially, certainly I love to see images. They help me to understand things a little bit better. So for starters, this is what is called Monjoro. And I would have been speaking a lot about this little guy for some time, maybe about 10 weeks now. I've been speaking about this little guy. I have been on this version of the GLP slash GIP medication for my diabetic status. And of course, it treats with obesity, fatty liver disease, and other things. Now, as I always disclaim, I am not a medical doctor. So, your information that I'm presenting here to you is clearly from my own experience and should be guided by your visit or your consultation with your general practitioner. Please have the conversations. So, this would have been my 5 milligram of the drug that I titrated to from the 2.5. Now, if you recall from any of the previous videos, I would have spent 4 weeks at the 2.5 milligram of the Monjoro trizepatide. Now, this is the branded version that is formulated by Eli Lilly, which is one of the big boys, big players within the GLP-1 space. Now, I started this drug, as I said, because it was being buzzed around into the space of diabetics and persons with obesity as the revolution of drugs in the area of managing and controlling diabetes. Now, this is a little vial that um I would normally take, trying to line that up. Yes, this is a little vial that I would normally take once per week, depending on the day that I take it. And wait a bit. Yeah, I think that's better to show. Is it? Yes, that's better. Right. So this would be like my weekly dose of trizepatide in the form of the branded version Manjaro. Now, as you can see, this is very tiny. It's maybe like an inch. And guys, it's not the vial itself is not full to capacity. It literally only holds enough for one injection. No, so you can just imagine it's like the medication is somewhere here when you get it, right? But this is what I normally take as the branded version of the drug. Now, the drug itself, being the Manjaro, is without any form of additives, as I would have mentioned. It is done specifically for persons have that want to just treat themselves for the purpose of a diabetic, or in the form of Zepbound for weight loss and weight management. So when you purchase the branded version of Manjaro or Zepbound from Eli Lilly, or if you're taking a semaglutide, but that would be from Nova Nordics. Now, remember, guys, I'm talking only about the trizepatide, which is the dual agonist, which is the GIP plus GLP. The semaglutide, which comes in the form of Ozempic and Wegovy, those are semaglutides, right? We're not talking about those right now. We're talking about tirzepatide. Now, on a normal week, I would take the 5 milligrams and have done so for about 8 weeks. And I decided again, I always tell you guys about the cost of the drug, the accessibility of the drug. At some point in time, the desire to want to titrate for me up to another dose may not be as readily available. So, the scarcity of it has caused me to consider compounding. Now, here's the difference between this version of the drug, which is, again, the branded version, and the compounded version, which I'm going to show you now, which I would have gotten from Mochi Health, and I would have done something on them again. So the drug comes in a little cooler. You can go back and watch my Mochi unboxing short. So the drug comes in a pill bottle or case, but the drug itself it comes in a very similar vial as the branded version. But as you see, this version of the medication is compounded, because if you look at the labeling, it is actually telling you what it has been compounded with. I'm just looking to see if my information is there. What it has been compounded with, outside of the main ingredients being trizepatide. Now, guys, look at the difference between the two. Little Tupsi almost look like a big thing, but anyway, both of them are very small vials, very small containers. Um, so this is what I have been on for the last week for my week 11. Now, I would have indicated that this is compounded because it is not just the main ingredient that is in this compounded version, but they have also added niacinamide to it for the benefits of my overall health and balance. So I normally draw the specifications based on what my doctor recommends for my dose, and these both have to be kept at refrigerated level, about 23 degrees. So in terms of the difference between the two, I am going to explain personally what I have felt being on both a branded version as well as a compounded version. Now, the truth be told, there's been no difference in terms of the branded version or the compounded version. Side effects, still none. I am now 1 week into the compounded version. I have had no side effects. I have um, nothing to record in my trizepatide journal as to anything unusual that has happened with the with the changeover. Sorry, guys. Nothing that I needed to record in terms of that. So, side effect wise, both have treated me the same. I'm on the same dosage, 5 milligram. Really no difference there. Uh, the only difference that is worth mentioning, as I always have done, is the fact that I pay 1/3 or maybe a quarter less than what I normally pay on the branded version. So that is something significant in my world, and in any of the world of persons who are living. This is now their way of life, right? Cost and ability to access is very important. I would have spoken about that. So those would have been um, pretty much the two physical difference between the products, um, in terms of, as I said, how it impacts my personal experience with the drugs. Nothing different hasn't changed. I will tell you that after a week of um, allowing the drug to leave my system under the branded version, because I was off the branded version for about a week, I took the compounded version on the 10th of November 2025 at my stall weight. So I stalled for many weeks at 180, 180, 181. For many weeks, I was stalling at that weight on the branded version, right? I went through maybe 2 weeks at the same weight. Now, I want to make it clear because, again, I think most times when I speak about my journey, I speak about just the weight loss portion of it, and albeit I am on this because of my diabetic status mainly. But primarily, um, you can't see changes in diabetes, physical changes. So it is almost easier for me to talk about what you can see physically, the physical manifestation of being on the drug. So let me talk about the non-physical manifestation, which is the fact that my blood glucose level is at 5.2 and all of that almost on a daily basis when I do my sugar test, right? I don't think there's anything outside of me just saying that will allow you to know that the drug is working for that portion or that part of my treatment that I went on these drugs for. But for the obesity part of it, that is a benefit for me because, as I said, I didn't go into tirzepatide or Monjoro for the purpose of losing weight. That was not my first and initial reason for going on the drug, but it came as a benefit and a much a much welcomed benefit, right? Because everybody wants to lose weight, no matter how you think you're, yeah, you'll always find some. There's always something for you to go. If I could have just lost a 1 or 2 pounds. So, yeah, the benefit of me being on tirzepatide to control my sugar levels, my glucose levels, and benefiting losing 35 pounds is awesome. No, I have been told that I look drastically different. I don't see it, and I often refer to my non-scale victories because if I sit and continuously watch the scale, I'll go crazy, right? But separate and apart from that, I also have had friends, family, persons who have known me for years have said to me, "What are you doing? You look different, you know?" Truth be told, they may see the difference. I personally haven't. I think I look the same. I really do think I look the same. I can tell you though, in terms of my how my clothes fits, or even how my shoes fit, people. Somebody couldn't tell me say when I lose weight, it losing on a foot too. You know how much years know me I wear size 9? And I know me I wear size 9 and I swear blind say me a size 9. Guys, losing weight. I am now a size 8, 8.5. Look here. I went into Ross and I properly picked up couple size 9 shoes and I took them home thinking they're gonna fit because I'm a 9. And I got home, put on the shoes them, figure muggle them off, yeah? And properly have to carry them back across because the shoes them big and favor slippers on my foot. They were flopping on my feet. So somebody should have tell me, say, losing weight at least 35 pounds mean that your foot size will shrink because me is now at 8, 8.5, which me never even did know that, but yeah. So there are certain things that I have noticed, as I said, I probably am noticing that certain tops that I normally had have a little bit more room in them. Certain um, trousers or pants that I would normally wear is looking a little bit, looser than normal. They're not as fitting as tight as certainly not in the waist part and in the thighs. So I won't tell you that I am not aware that the drug has caused significant weight loss for me. But to say that I see it physically, maybe say in my features, as persons have said, boy, you look different. I'm not there yet, guys. It may be some body dysmorphic kind of a thing or something, but I'm not seeing it there yet. So I think I still look the same to me. That aside, um, I am going to keep abreast of what is happening on the compounded side of it for the next month because I do have, as I said, this prescription is actually for a month, and I would have taken my first shot on Monday. By the way, guys, I have it out in outside of the fridge. I really shouldn't, but I'm in a little bit of a cool air, so I'm hoping that nothing happens between now and when I end this vlog or this video. But ideally, they're supposed to be kept in the fridge or at room temperature. Sorry, not at room temperature, in the fridge. Sorry, refrigerated. Right. So that's pretty much it in terms of my layman explanation of the difference between the compounded and the branded version. Just pretty much um, the basic level of it all. But I am sure there are persons who would have had the scientific knowledge as to what goes into a compounded version or what makes it a compound, what makes it, something that the FDA doesn't approve or whatever the case may be. I'm sure there are information out there that we can dive into, but that's not what the request that I got. I got a request to say, just tell us the basic of it. And the basic of it is that one is a true ingredient, nothing added, there's no additives. And the other, because of FDA regulations and patent rights for the manufacturers of trizepatide, then the persons who are compounding have to change the formulation of the drug in some way so as to make it distinguishable. But at the end of the day, the main ingredient that is helping with the obesity and the diabetic status is trizepatide. And as I would have mentioned, semaglutide in the Ozempic and the Wegovy. So that being said, as one of the clarification request coming out of my direct inbox comments and statements, I wanted to just look at what is happening in the GLP market, in the GLP news, in the GLP space as of this week. So we would have spoken about the two big players in the space, Nova Nordics and Eli Lilly. And of late, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of press releases about who is really the dominant force within the GLP-1 space. Now, something that I have observed in my reading and in my literature is that certainly Ozempic started the whole GLP-1 discussion, started the whole fanfare. We heard a lot of celebrities and this what that were on this Ozempic train ride. And as a result of that, the name Ozempic stands out very prominent amongst the GLP-1, GIP therapies, right? And a lot of persons don't realize that Ozempic is a semaglutide, which is not as, I'm going to say, not as potent in its and effectiveness in treating with other aspects of your overall diabetic and obesity management. So the Ozempic that we know was mainly for diabetic control, and the weight loss version of that came out at the time is Wegovy, which was for weight loss, and I think Rebellos, some oral pill at the time, and all of these came from the big player Nova Nordics back then. Now, what has since happened within the GLP-1 slash GIP space is that Eli Lilly has made a significant um, market moves within this community because Eli Lilly is now taking grounds with its trizepatide, which we would have mentioned is a dual um, agonist, receptor agonist. And the trizepatide now comes in the form of Mounjaro for diabetics and Zepbound for obesity. And these evolutionary formation of the drug from the semaglutide, which is comes in the form of Ozempic and Wegovy, to know what we have in the trizepatide being Mounjaro and Zepbound, have now caused a lot of stir within the space because persons now want to get into the evolution of the drug. People want to know be benefiting from a dual receptor, right? They want this to be something that is helping them on both fronts. So you can just imagine on a account of Eli Lilly taking the GLP-1 therapy to next level by introducing a second receptor, which is the GIP receptor. They have somehow managed to capture a lot of the market share in the GLP-1 space in most recent times. Now, the data on it has shown that with the combined Mounjaro and Zepbound sales, the position has shifted, and we have now seen Nova Nordic coming under some serious pressure for growing the industry, for growing where they are, and the whole impact of competition coming down now to kind of slow down what they have been doing when they became avant-garde at the beginning of the whole GLP experience. So both of these big players within the space, they are continuously trying to research and develop other evolutionary forms of the drugs to see what market advantage they can get. Now, this is great for us as consumers because, as I always tell you, and Marxists will support me on this, competition drives everything. Competition drives it, especially in our capitalist model, right? So the more competition you have, the consumer benefits because immediately when we see this competition coming about, guess what is happening? The cost of the drugs are reducing. When this thing started, I remember when persons were buzzing about Ozempic, I took a pause on it because I heard a lot about side effects and I couldn't understand the side effects of it. So I was being honest, I was scared. Yeah. But at the time when I inquired into it, it was a lot of money. Guys, I'm telling you already, the money and me, money and me. The money and me thing is very serious when it comes to these things. But of course, your health is very important. So we do what we must, right? But I remember when Ozempic came on board and I was inquiring about it, people was telling me some 3,000, 4,000 US dollars per month. And I'm going, that is somebody's rent in New York City. What? So of course, I waited, I paused, and I said, competition is gonna solve this mystery. Competition is gonna solve this mystery of everything being so high. And right I was. So now that we have so many players in the space, we are seeing the Trump administration just coming out to say, hey, for those select persons who are on Medicaid or Medicare, the drug is going to be at this cost. Now, when will that take effect? We don't know, right? But certainly, the fact that it is something that is being tabled somewhere, we know to expect great things from this space. So, clearly, Eli Lilly's pipeline is one that is becoming very aggressive. They are now developing an oral version of the pill, of the medication, sorry, in the form of aflogopan, and also they're looking into a third generation of the trizep of the GLP-1 in the form of retatrutide, which is a triple agonist receptor. And it's triple agonist because it's going to be adding glucagon to the GLP-1 GIP component. So you can imagine what is happening in research and development when these players are in their labs trying to determine what is going to be the next competitive advantage that they would need to have in order to shift the market in their favor. And it is happening, guys, right before our very eyes. We are seeing pretty much neck on neck these two big boys coming out aggressively with things that are being in clinical trials, trying to get something out to the market by 2026 to see how much of this space they can capture. Now, this weight loss space, I'm not even talking about the diabetic space because the diabetic space is what it is. But you see, this weight loss space, the billions that people are forking out in order to lose weight is some serious money. So these two players are at odds trying to get as much money from this purse as they possibly can. So there are lots of exciting things that are happening within the space from the oral. I mean, just the fact that we now have something oral to take is awesome in and of itself because a lot of us are afraid of needles, right? So the fact that we now have something that we can orally take, and then in short order, we're going to have something that is now going to give us a triple agonist. You can imagine what is going to happen to our diabetic status or obesity, all of those things. I'm excited, guys. I tell you from long time, I'm very excited about that. So, of course, all of this is happening at a wonderful time. But we still have to be mindful of what is taking place in the gray markets because a lot of these um, developments in the oral presentation of the drug, be it from Eli Lilly or Novo Nordics or the retatrutide, which is the third generation of the drug, are not yet formulated for public consumption. They're not yet on the market for us to consume. And they're in clinical trials. And what has been happening, particularly with retatrutide, is that a lot of the gray market has started to compound versions of it and are being they're being consumed by a lot of bodybuilders within the space. And one or two persons have gotten their hands on it. But let me tell you something, guys. We need to be guided by the FDA regulations and approvals. Now, while this thing is exciting and while there are exciting times ahead, we must be guided by law. I'm an attorney, so you know I'm going to talk about being guided by law. And if the drug is not yet for human consumption, please do not go to the gray market and utilize these drugs before they're FDA approved. That is my public service announcement to persons of us within the community, right? So there are lots of things that are happening, and all of this is being driven by competition. Emerging markets are also coming up within the space, and you may find again that this insurmountable amount of competition that is going to happen, it's going to cause the drugs to be more accessible, going to be, you know, addressing issues of shortages. Because one of the things that came up in an article this year that I read is that um, in Asia and China, we are seeing these emerging markets now coming up with some form of GLP, and they're doing it in such an aggressive way. So they too are trying to get a piece of what is, happening. Now, these new entrants within the space, whether it be from the Asian market or the market of China, other companies are entering this space and are expanding their pipeline, their GLP pipeline, to offer these therapeutic drugs, you know, whether it be in the form of a semaglutide or a tirzepatide. We are seeing these things that are happening. And even in the case of, I think something was being said about AstraZeneca um, being named as one of the key GLP-1 market participants, So there are persons who are slowly realizing that there's big bucks to be made here, big bucks to be made. I tell you, the cost of these things are crazy. I went to um, CVS and I just randomly asked, what is the cost of this without insurance, without Medicaid or Medicare? Okay, nothing more to say. But again, exciting times ahead, very exciting times ahead. So that is pretty much what has happened within the space this week. I don't think I have left out anything major. We know what's coming. We just have to continue to keep our ears to the ground so that we can either make the right decisions when it comes to our health and how we intend to navigate this ever changing space. Because let me tell you something, the space is changing rapidly as these drugs are coming under demand for both metabolic and diabetic purposes. And just to look at what is happening, with next generation and all the things that are going to be taking place for 2026. Now, one thing for certain is that the GLP-1 market is no longer a niche. It's no longer something that is, designed for a particular area or sector. it is showing that it is becoming very central. It's very, very central, very big, and there's a lot of strategic growth that are taking place about diabetes and obesity. And while we see the two players who are aggressively challenging each other with their trizepatide or their retatrutide or their, you know, semaglutide in whatever form it is coming, we know who the two main players are. And the battle is not just about the current drugs that are on the market. It is about orals. This is about triple agonists. It's about combined therapy, compounding therapies. So a lot is happening, guys. When I heard about an oral version of the drug, I went, okay, that's something good for persons who wanted to be on the drug but couldn't because they were so concerned about injectables. There's gonna be something for you guys. I'm not afraid of the injection. I kind of look forward to the joke, to be honest. Sometimes it gives me a little excitement, but yeah, I look forward to getting injected. And as always, we talk about the triple agonist. Listen, guys, I don't think I can tell you anything more than I've already said in terms of my excitement. I'm excited like a little schoolgirl going to her prom. That's how excited I am about retatrutide. But again, I'm going to stick within the FDA regulations, which says not gray market. Wait until they come out in 2026. So I'm just going to apply that and just wait eagerly, anticipating all of this. But until then, I'm going to dabble into the compounding space, dabble into it and see where I go from there. As I said, I started this week at 180, 181, and in a day or two being on the compounded version, I am at 177. I'm gonna put it here. So I lost maybe 4 pounds in one day. Awesome, 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 right? So like everything else, there is risk, there is increased competition, there is profits to be made, there's regulatory complexities, supply and demand is going to always meet, and there is going to always be a growing market for innovation and innovation that is changing our space, our community rapidly. So thank you guys. I know this was a long one, but I tell you, sometimes I get so excited talking about um my journey on Monjoro slash GLP-1 compounded trizepatide. I get so excited talking about this because I have seen the wonder of this drug. No, like I always say, if you have any questions, have any concern, and by the way, just to give a shout out, my doctor who provides it for me, I need to get his permission just to indicate if I can drop it. His contact information in my somewhere along my video. So that you can, if you're interested, you can give him a call and see how best he can help you. I'm trying to remember. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the doctor's office, but Doc and I are so close. We're friends that sometimes I don't even remember what he calls his office, but that's bad. But I'll come and do another one and get that information for him. So until then, thank you guys for sticking and staying. Love it. This is week 11 on my compounded trizepatide. I'll see you on Monday where I take my second compounded shot. I may even do it on here. I may just show you how I take it. I may do it in my arm. Yeah, because she ain't gonna show her belly on nowhere. She ain't showing her belly nowhere. She belly is for she bedroom. Okay? So I may just do a shot in my arm on Monday so you can see what I do, how I do it. And as always, just enjoy the ride with me. And if you feel like coming on board, we welcome you. It's a community of interesting people who have a lot to tell you, have a lot to recommend, have a lot to teach. And as always, feel free to make your comments, subscribe, share, like, all of the good YouTube stuff. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.